And that's it, guys, that's it. That alone will give you context. It'll give you an understanding of how they feel about it when you look at them, right? That's the thing, guys. As a pro, you can't be worried about the words and reading all the time. And all. This is cool to have, but you can't be worried about this. You need to focus on what? Your client, the defense. You got to focus on the defense. You need to focus on who's across from you so you can see, you can get a feel for how they're feeling, how they're thinking, their perception of things. So you drop it like that, right? And then you go, of course, you go through the rest of this slide and the normal, way to present it, right? But that is something that I want you guys as a pro to just get. If you had literally 2 minutes to explain life insurance to me, that's the best way to do it. That's the best way to do it. Okay? Right? A scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, right? You go through this here, properly protected, right? They're including that. You got to understand that and know that. Now, I brought this up really because of this part here. And then I'm sure you guys will go through it in regards to the general presentation. But, hey, one of these 4 control the other 3. And you ask them, right? You go through the process and they'll tell you and you get a feel for their understanding and what they've heard so far. And regardless of their answer, you have to know that this ensures the other 3. Without this, the other 3 don't matter. It just doesn't. Right? I love using that example of life. And, when you think about, and you guys have heard your trainer say this at some point, life insurance is the foundation of your financial household. What does that really mean? What does that really mean? Think about it. If anybody has ever bought a house, right? You go see 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 houses, right? And after a while, you're almost inundated with it. And then finally, you see your dream house. You go in, it feels good. You'll right away have an envision of what you're going to change and what you're going to paint and so on and so forth. And you love it. Before you buy a house, the first thing you got to do is you have to have someone look at it and an inspector come and look at it, right? And tell you that that you can actually live in it. And what if the inspector, Ian, comes and tells you, listen, I love the house, it's gorgeous, but I saw a big crack in the foundation. Right across the foundation, would you still purchase that house? Right? Most people will not. There's no reason for you to purchase the house. Why? Because there's a crack in the foundation. It's broken. I don't care how great the house looks, and I'll ask the client, what would be the concern? Well, if there's a crack in the foundation, everything can fall apart. That's life insurance. I jump in right away. That's life insurance. All the top of it can be pretty. You can make good money. You can be in a good situation, so on and so forth. But if you're not protecting the foundation, which is life insurance, it can all fall apart for you in an instant. Talk to a lot of families in the past 12 months and what has occurred. And there are stories after stories that I know I have a few of them. Shay has a few, right? All the training. Some of you have a few stories that you can use to bring that point home. Right now, I'm not saying you have to do it there, but that has to be your mentality in seeing that. And then, of course, there's this here, and you guys know this here, right? There's 4 ways of protecting your family. I'm not going to break down for you how to overcome group life, employer, no coverage and none of that stuff, right? That you listen to all the trainings on it. My goal, right, is to just have an understanding of how to attack this, right? Give you a background, give you a foundation of how you should see this, right? You're the quarterback of your team, and you got to see what the defense is presenting, and you have to understand how to navigate through this process here, right? So, and you ask all the questions, man. Do you feel you're overinsured, underinsured, not sure, all that kind of stuff, right? And your job is ultimately to be able to break down in any one of these situations how to overcome either not having it, right? Creating the emotional attachment with either group, cash value. And guys, with this stuff, man, you just go right to it. Literally, you go right to it. Okay, now I want to come to here, right? And this is my last one. And then we'll ask questions, okay? By this point, you should pretty much know as a professional if you're going to get a check. By this point. This year, you're just tying everything together. That's the premise of this page here, of this slide, right? And you can start by asking the question, what is the worst thing that can happen to a family financially speaking? How they answer it will tell you if they've learned what you've discussed with them so far. Every once in a while, you might have to come back, Bao, and explain it again. And that's okay, right? But by this point, they should already understand that the answer should always be what? Death of a loved one, death of a breadwinner, not a loved one. Death of a breadwinner is the worst thing that can happen to a family financially speaking. So now as a professional, you're tying everything in. So Mr. and Mrs. Client, here's how I believe life works. We discussed many things today. We talked about retirement planning, all the different areas we can help you in. I'm excited. I know you mentioned you might have a 401k plan. Man, I'm so excited about helping you with that if you allow us to. I'm so excited about working with Bao, and she's just a young superstar in our business, one of the top in our hierarchy, and she's just amazing, and we thank you so much for everything you've done. But let me kind of bring it all together for you for a second, okay? As you just mentioned, the worst thing that can happen to a family financially speaking is death of a breadwinner. Now, look at this. In the early parts of our life, right? I have 4 children, you have 3 children, and guess our kids they're liabilities, right? They cost money. Right? When they're young, debt, mortgage, bills, right? Food, grow, everything. That's why it's hard to save as much as we can, as much as we want to, rather. So the need for life insurance is at its highest point. Now, as time goes on, eventually I hear children grow up and get out of the house, so they won't need you as much financially. Little to no debt, mortgage paid for. See, in retirement, what is it that you better have, Mr. and Mrs. Client? And whether they say money or not, doesn't matter, you bring it. Absolutely. Money. My mom used to tell me 50 years ago, you work for a company, they took care of you, man. You gave them 30 years of your life, they took care of you for the rest of your life. That's no longer the case. All that has been changing, even in civil service too. My sister's a teacher, she's a principal at a school. My brother's an athletic director of a college. And they went into those fields because of the pension plans they had. Guess what? No longer the case in the last 8 years. All that has changed. So you better have money accumulated, assets built. See, life insurance really becomes a luxury at that point. Notice how I changed my tone. Notice how I brought it forth. The manner in which I communicated that, right? It becomes a luxury. So here's my goal, Bao. With every family I sit with, I want to ensure that the family over time has no debt. I want them to be debt-free, including their mortgage. But at the same time, I want to protect their families, give them the highest coverage possible for the least cost possible, and simultaneously teach them how to start increasing their cash estate. So that at some point, the amount of money they saved equals the life insurance they needed. At that point, you are self-insured. You can stop paying for your life insurance and continue saving money so you can retire with dignity. Give you a quick example. This happened, by the way, guys, true story. I have a client that Tanya and I have had for about 10 years. She's in her late 50s. When I first sat down with her, gave her $500,000 in coverage, started helping her invest some money, retirement. She had already pretty good money in a 401k plan. I met with her on December of this past year, 2020, just to kind of go over. She's been a great referral source, everything. Became a friend of ours. And we're just sitting down talking, and come to find out, and I didn't know this before, she now has almost $350,000 in her 401k and has almost $150,000 in stock of BNY Mellon, right, which is a bank here in New York. One that's been around for like 150 years. So that's the equivalent of $500,000 of coverage. Of assets, liquid assets. Guess what? I told her, actually, we've accomplished a major goal in your financial career. You are self-insured. Stop paying for your policy. She was paying like something like $78, something like that a month. And she looks at me like, what are you talking about? You can actually stop paying for your life insurance. Why? Aren't you the insurance guy? Yeah, but it's about helping you do the right thing. You have $500,000 saved. So when you have $500,000 saved, you are now, by definition, self-insured. If you died, that money goes to someone. You don't take it with you. See, my responsibility when I sit down with a family, Ian, is to ensure that their family is protected monetarily from dying too soon. That's why term is appropriate. Because we have a period of time where your biggest asset is you. You are your biggest asset, your ability to make money. At some point, that asset, you get old, right, Kenny? You get old and you can no longer work as much as you used to. So therefore, that changes over, if you did the right things, into actual dollars, assets, liquid assets. Now we got to protect that, because I also help families get them to retirement and through retirement. Now we look at different ways of protecting your biggest asset, which is what now? Your money, your assets. And that's where the annuities come into play. An insurance contract as well. Oops, I don't know how I did that. I just got out of that by mistake. So, with that, does that make sense, everybody? I don't know why I got out of that. Now, I want to give you one more thing that I've been using recently, and then you guys can ask questions. Maybe we got 5 minutes or so, 10 minutes. This is another tool that you can use in your tool bag. I forgot who I learned it from. I know I didn't come up with it, but I heard somebody doing it, and I've used it, and I think it works well for those families, those individuals who really don't have. Sometimes when you see things monetarily or you quantify them, it makes a bigger impact than just hearing it, right? So I have learned to quantify your life. You can actually quantify it. Let me give you an example. So Mr. and Mrs. Klein, think about it like this, right? The average car, and you can kind of determine based on where you live, right? 20 grand. What is the average cost of insurance, of car insurance? About $200 a month, right? To protect 20. Average house, 300,000. The average cost, maybe 150 of home insurance to protect 300,000. Shoot, we protect our phones nowadays. What's the average phone now? About $1,000. Average cost of insurance, 15 to 20 bucks a month. So let me understand something, Mr. and Mrs. Client. Let me understand something. Most of us, right, will protect $20,000 and pay $200 a month for it. That's about a 10% cost of your income. 150 to protect the home, 1,000 to protect your cell phone. See, those are tangibles. I get it. I understand it. You gotta take care of it. What is the most important thing to you right now in your life? I just kind of throw it in there like that. Just throw it in there. Why? Catching them off guard. And the answer to that is what? Family, my kids. So let me understand something, and please take this, with all due respect. You'll protect your car. You'll protect your home. You'll protect your cell phone, but you wouldn't protect your family? Now consider this. If you work 40 years of your life, from the age of 25 to the age of 65, that's the average lifespan in working, and you make an average of 50 grand, right? That's $2 million you've earned in a lifetime. And you couldn't take 50 to 70 bucks a month, which relative to everything else is the cheapest cost, to ensure the highest value? Please help me understand that. Does that make sense? Because if we monetize our lives, we're worth about $1.5 to $2 million. For some of us, a little bit more. And we have the opportunity to protect it for 1.5%. And in protecting 100% of income, doesn't it make sense to do that? When you agree, why wouldn't you do it? You kind of leave it like that. So, with all that said, we have another 5, 6, 7 minutes or so. Questions. How can I help you guys? If you have any questions, anything I can help you maybe clarify, understand, anything like that. You can write it on the screens, or you can put it to the chat, or Joali Mercado, can I have this presentation in Spanish? Seguro que sí, señorita. ¿Con quién usted trabaja?
I'm on Chandel, Morgan and Chandel's
Okay.
team.
Okay, so en español. Vamos a hablar en español para que nadie nos entienda. Yo voy a hablar con Chandel y si ella quiere, se lo mando a ella y ella te lo puede explicar. Y si usted quiere, yo también puedo enseñárselo. Porque yo no sé que Chandel puede hablar en español.
Preferiría que me lo enviaras tú.
Sí, pero
Shaq me refirió a ti y hace tiempo quería preguntarte.
Ok, está bien. Entonces podemos hablar.
Gracias.
De nada. I was just doing that so Jamily cannot understand what I'm saying. Any other questions? Let me stop this recording now. How do you even stop this thing? Oh, there we go.